Okay, we are going to record this session just like we do the previous Tuesday classroom sessions. So in case you have to drop out earlier, in case you join late, that's okay. We're going to record the entire thing and make it available for everybody. So thank you for attending. My name is Noah, and today we're going to be looking at the basics of the Walkin Manager in Shortcuts. So some of you may be new to Shortcuts. Some of you may have managers or receptionists that are new to Shortcuts, and you want to get them up to speed. So one of the big features in the program is called the Walk-in Manager. And this is something that a large number of our customers use every day. Many of our customers use the appointment book, and that's just like the traditional appointment book in a spa or a salon or a barber shop, where customers hold their place and make their reservations ahead of time. But we also have a large group that work on just walk-ins only, whether they're a barber shop, whether they're a nail salon, whether they're a spa, and they're perhaps in a hotel or near a resort community. And really, they just deal with walk-in customers every day, and that's perfect for their business. So Shortcuts has a way to get customers in and out very easily. So let's actually take a look at our walk-in manager. So similar to our other presentations, this is going to be about 30 minutes. We are going to allow some time for questions. My microphone is on, we are recording, and we will share a copy of this video later today. So we will take questions. So on the right side, you should have a toolbar where you have a little chat window, a little question window, and you can just use that to message me the questions. So of course, if you have any other questions after today's webinar, whether it's related to the topic or something else, you can always reach out to us on our Facebook page. So we are paying attention to that and we will get back to you. So, I already did this. So what exactly are we going to cover? So with the Walk-in Manager, if you've never used it or you've used it just a few times and you're not quite sure what all the features are, we're going to learn the basics of setting up your walk-in options. How do you track your staff? How do you track their hours? How do you use the standby and in-service screen? If you're recording customer information, so maybe you do just deal with walk-in customers and you don't really need to add a phone number or email address. But if you decide that moving forwards, you'd like to start capturing this data so that you can begin marketing to them, how do you add customer details? And of course, how to check customers out once they're done. So we're going to cover all of that in today's session. So the walk-in manager, the way that it works, it's the fastest way to get a customer into and out of service. And the same rule applies for your staff. It's the fastest way to get your staff clocked in and clocked out. So when they're ready to work or when they're done for the day, it's also the fastest way to get your staff on and off the clock. But before you start using the walk-in manager, you want to make sure that you configure your options. Now I'm going to pause for just a second. And I see my microphone is on. And I see my microphone does have levels, but I just want to double check. Quick question for everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? And on the right side, if you have your little question, your little chat window, just give me a yes or a no. Okay, thank you, Victoria. I was just double checking because sometimes the audio cuts out. Okay, so we were talking about configuring the options in your walk-in manager. So the location for this, you'll want to go to settings, and that's, you'll have to log in usually at the owner level. You're going to go to your settings, general walk-in. So some of the things you might want to look at. Does your site require visitor or service tickets? So do you usually physically print up a ticket that has the name of the customer, the service they're receiving, and perhaps a little space for the staff to put in notes? If so, there's an option to enable to print either visit tickets or in-service tickets, or you can turn that feature off because the customer just goes to the chair, they get a haircut or whatever the service is. You don't need to print any tickets. If you need to capture customer demographics, so if you're going to ask shortcuts, try to get an email, try to get a phone number. Do you want that feature on or off? And then any other staff related details. Do you want to show what the staff productivity is for clients per hour or service dollars per hour? So you can also enable that. So always configure your options first. Now, the Walkin Manager screen itself, it's a completely different interface than the traditional appointment book. The main screen itself is really divided into 3 columns. You have a left, center, and right column. On the left side is your waiting list. So these are customers, they've either checked in themselves or a receptionist has checked them in or an employee has checked them in, and all of their names are on the left side of the screen. You'll see things like what service do they want? Did they request an employee? Did they make an appointment online or did they make a check-in by themselves? The center screen is actually the portion that says, okay, I'm going to take this customer and put them into service. Or if they were accidentally seated with an employee and they say, no, I'm going to wait for somebody else, we can take them out of service and return them to the wait list. And on the right side, it actually shows the customers that are in service. So the main walk-in screen, it's 3 columns, left, center, right. So who's waiting, how to get them into service, and then the actual customers that are in service right now. So you do have the ability to customize what you see on the walk-in screen. Some locations like to keep things simple. The name of the customer, what their wait time is, and that's it. But if you'd like to see more details, when you're in the walk-in screen, if you right-click on the title bar where the words like waiting, start, estimated wait time are, if you right-click, you'll get a pop-up window that actually lets you choose what else do you want to show. Do you want to see the price or the service that they selected? Or do you want to hide some of those features? Now in the middle column, so this is the one where you put customers into or out of service. This is also the place where you can add a client or check them out. It will show you basic stats. How many customers are in service right now? How many customers are waiting? And are there any customers that are going to stay on the wait list because they're not going to wait in a chair, they're just going to return later. So it's going to give you the basic information. So first thing is first, if you are going to start using the Walk-in Manager, or if you've never used the Walk-in Manager before, the first thing you should always do is make sure that you clock an employee in and let shortcuts know this staff member is here, they're ready to start working. If your staff is scheduled in shortcuts and you say what days they're working, what times they're working, those staff names will appear on the bottom left corner of the Walk-in Manager screen. Now, if you've never entered a schedule in shortcuts, if you don't have any employee hours, that's okay. Because on the bottom of the screen, you can always press the Add Employee button and then choose the name of the staff member that's clocking in. So every day, first thing before usually you even open your front doors, go to the walk-in screen, clock on your staff. This way Shortcuts knows somebody is in, somebody's ready to do a haircut. If you forget to do that, and the first thing you do is try to add a customer or try to put them in service, Shortcuts will say, wait a minute, nobody's available. Who's going to do this haircut? So it'll remind you, please clock your staff in. So let's say your staff needs to go on a break. So just as the staff would do, when they click on their name, they actually have a button that says away. And you can set a specific time. So maybe they're going to get a cup of coffee, maybe they're going to have a cigarette break, and they'll say, I'm going to be out for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What happens is Shortcuts will adjust the estimated wait time for other customers. If you have a walk-in kiosk, if you have a receptionist and they just are putting customers onto your list, it will actually compensate and give the customer an estimated wait time, and it'll remember that this employee is stepping away. So it's going to add those extra 10 minutes or extra 15 minutes to the wait time, just to let the customers know, I'm going to be honest with you, one of my staff members just walked away, but they should be back in a few minutes. And if the staff member returns early, they can always press the return button, and then again, it will automatically adjust the estimated wait time for the customers. So some of the locations we work with, barbershops, spas, they actually have what's called a wallboard, and it shows the list of customers, who's next in line, how long they've been waiting, the estimated wait time, and that does get changed automatically based on the staff members that are making themselves available or taking breaks. So it's a very dynamic system. So how do you add clients? And after this slide, we're going to pause and actually repeat all of these steps in an actual Shortcuts demonstration. So in the Walkin Manager screen, you're going to press the New button in the center column. So if you have a spa or a barbershop and you don't really capture phone numbers, email addresses, then the window that you'll see is called the Client Identifier. So you can type in just a first name or a customer's whatever detail you have for them. And that way you have a placeholder name. Shortcuts is not going to ask you for any other information. But if you have regular customers that come in, if it's important that you start recording emails, phone numbers, then instead of just typing in a client identifier name, you'll actually want to press the Clients button on that same pop-up window and then search for a customer on your list of clients. So we're going to pause right here, and we're going to repeat the steps that we had started with from this presentation. So I'll get out of this slideshow and I'll jump into Shortcuts. So the first thing we want to do is actually tell the Walkin Manager my employee number 1 and employee number 2 are ready to start cutting hair. So at the bottom of the screen, I'll click on my staff member name and I'll put them on the clock. So employee 1's ready to cut hair, and now employee number 2 is ready to cut hair. So now that staff members are ready, if a customer comes in, I can press the New button. And again, if your particular location doesn't capture customer details, then you can just say, okay, what's your first name? Oh, my first name is Tom. Okay. So once I put in a customer's name, I can press Done. Now, your site may choose to use tags or not. I would always advise, regardless of what type of business you have, always use a tag, because tags will let you know what types of customers you had during this visit. So at the end of the week or at the end of the month when you run a report, you can go to your tag usage report and say, how many new clients did I have? How many returning salon regulars or shop regulars did I have? How many requested a specific employee? So always consider using your tags. So in this case, Tom, he's a new client. So I'll press Done. And then Shortcuts is going to say, okay, so what is this customer getting? Now, this database is not really for a barber shop. This database, the one I was most recently building, is actually for a tattoo shop. So you can guess that this is a very flexible system. So in this case, this person is going to get a tattoo, a 1.5 hour tattoo. So once I press done, Shortcuts will put this customer on the left side, but it notices employee number 1 is ready to see this client. Would this customer like to be put into service right now with employee 1, or would he like to select a different employee? Or is he waiting for perhaps employee 3 to come into work? Will he return later today because he doesn't want to wait? In this case, Tom is ready to start his tattoo visit, so I can put him in service. Shortcuts will confirm. The customer's visit is my 1.5 hour session. He's going to have a tattoo with employee number 1. And there it is. So when the next customer comes in, perhaps I have a regular customer that comes in. Instead of just typing in a name, I'm going to the Clients button. And I'm going to search for my good friend, George Clooney. And George is a salon regular. And this time, he's going to get a tattoo as well. So George says, okay, I don't mind going with employee number 2. We'll put him in service. So when the next customer comes in, another regular, we'll say it's Matt Damon. He's a regular customer, and he's going to get a touch-up on his tattoo. So the next employee that's scheduled to work today is actually an employee called Shortcuts or an employee called Business. If they were not scheduled to work today, I can hide them from this list, or I can make them not selectable in the Walkin Manager. In this case, he's going to have to wait. So he'll stay on the wait list until he's ready to go into service. So let's go back to the presentation. So we looked at adding clients, whether you're capturing details or not capturing details. So if you're going to create a new customer or moving forwards from today, you're no longer just going to put in a first name. You want to start using tags. You want to start entering more client details. So when you go to the client screen and you press new, you can actually tell Shortcuts, what are the details that I'd like to have available in what's called the quick screen? And there is a configuration option for this. If you're a spa, you may have a large number of questions that you ask, contact details, address, things like that. If you're a barber shop or a tattoo parlor, perhaps the details you need to capture are the phone number and the email address. So you determine what's important for your business. Don't forget to put in your options for marketing. Should the customer be able to get confirmations, yes or no? Should they give you permission to email them any promotions or any marketing of any sort? So make sure those questions are included, so that once these customers start returning, you'll be able to start filling in their histories, filling in their notes, and have more accurate records for all of the clients that visit you. So a moment ago, we looked at putting customers into service, but we're going to repeat these steps. So by default, if a staff member is clocked in, then Shortcuts will say, this service that you want is available right now with this employee. If the customer chooses a different employee, we can assign it to a different staff member. We can put them into service, or we can have them stay in the wait list if they prefer to wait for a different employee. Now, there's also an option that says return. So what's the difference between wait and return? If a customer knows that an employee is going to be available soon, and this customer doesn't mind waiting in the chair until this employee is available, then you can press wait, and that customer's name will stay on the list. But if a customer says, I'm actually going to run to the store run some errands, get some food. I'll be back a little bit later, but I definitely want to have my visit today, perhaps this afternoon, and they want to keep their name in the wait list, then you can press return. And instead of Shortcuts automatically trying to give this customer the next available chair, Shortcuts will remember, oh, this customer is not necessarily in the building right now, but they will return later today. And when they do, then I can choose to put them into service. And there is a little icon that appears if a customer was marked to return. So in this demonstration, in this screen, we have customers, multiple customers that are in service, multiple customers that are waiting. So they'll stay on the list if you press the wait button. You can also press decline, and Shortcuts will erase that customer's name and their visit. If you press return, then Shortcuts actually puts a little icon next to their visit. It looks like a little circle icon, a little red arrow and green arrow. So Shortcuts is letting you know this customer is not in the salon, they're not in the shop, but they will be back later today. So I'm just going to keep their name on the list. So if a customer is waiting to get a haircut or waiting to get another service and they change their mind, oh, I don't need a haircut, I need a beard trim, then you can right click and change the service that they're receiving. You can change their details. You can change their tag. So you have a number of options, whether the customer is waiting or they're in service. When you right click on a customer's name, you have all sorts of new options that you can use. Put details into their ticket, no-show them. If you're printing tickets, reprint it, or just change the service that they were having. So this is going to start becoming more and more important, especially if you start to get a lot of returning customers. You'll want to start recording client details. Every time somebody changes their phone number, they have a new email address, you'll want to right click on their name and change their details. So normally, that detail screen is the main client's card. And I'm going to pause the presentation here, and I'm going to repeat the importance of this. So normally, you right click, and when you go to change details, you would update an email address, a phone number, and general information about this client. On the bottom of the screen, the info button. So this is where extra details go. Did you find out what Matt's birthday is? Did you find out what his occupation is? Did he tell you how he heard about you? So all of these little details are important for marketing. But the most important information, if a staff member needs to know something, if you have color formulas you're recording, haircut styles that you're recording, and this customer is a repeat customer, so you want to keep that information handy, in that case, you want to go to his history or her history. On this window, you'll get every service, every product that they've ever purchased, but at the bottom of the screen, you'll actually have the ability to put in visit notes, history notes. So when you want to start recording that, you'll press the new button and you'll type in whatever that visit note is. So if this was a barber shop, Matt comes in, he always gets the same type of haircut. I'm going to put it in here. So we'll say clipper cut. He uses a number 2 guard on the sides and a 3 on top. Maybe scissor the back. So whatever those notes are, color formulas, haircut styles, once you save them, they're always available for the staff to review. So again, to access that, right click on the customer and change details. So history, super important. Make sure you use this option. Let's go back to the presentation. So be sure to record these details so that your staff always has access to them. And then if you have a group situation, mom and dad come in and they're paying for their kids' haircuts, you can always group customers in the point of sale or even in the in-service screen. You can right click and put them in a group. The important detail to remember is if you have multiple customers and they're going to check out in the point of sale, and one of these customers is going to purchase a product, shampoo, a conditioner, whatever it is, make sure that you assign that specific product to the customer in the group, not the group itself, because the group is not going to share a bottle of shampoo. One specific customer is going to use it. So that's really the only special rule that you'll want to observe, whether you're using Walkin Manager, whether you're using Appointment Book. When multiple people are checking out and you group them together, make sure you select the specific customer that is receiving that retail product. And that actually covers the A to Z of the walk-in manager. So you should now know about your walk-in options, making sure you clock your employees in, how to put customers in the wait and in service screens, how to add those customer details, and of course, checking customers out. So we are uploading our webinars, our classroom sessions onto the Shortcuts webpage. So if you visit our webpage or even visit our YouTube channel, you'll see every video we've recorded. So now we're going to open up the floor to questions. So if you have any questions on working with the Walk-in Manager, if you've never used it before or you've used it, but there's some things that you're not quite sure on, go ahead and post it on the right side on your little question bar, and we'll pause so that we can check that. I don't think we have any questions, unless somebody is typing very, very slowly. Okay, well, oh, there it is. How far does the history of the service? Oh, so in the history notes, any note that you save there will will stay with the system. It will stay with the customer forever. So you can go back to the very first visit for any particular client, the very first note that you added. So it isn't like, after 6 months or 7 months, those notes start to disappear. They always stay with the shortcut system. So that's an excellent question. But in shortcuts, and I'll get out of this window for a second. Remember, there's more than one place to put in information for a client. The history is really the most important. So this will always stay with the client. Every visit, every note, you'll have a stamp, you'll know who put it in there. But there are other places where you can record information. In the client card, if you go to the message window on the bottom left, this is really designed just for you, just for your staff. So if you have a quick note like, oh, this customer is new in town and they have two kids that also get their haircut here. This is just for you and your staff to know. So they say, oh, how are your kids doing? What do you think of the neighborhood? Just general information about the client. It does not appear on any other window. It does not appear on any report. You don't have the ability to print messages. That's why it's important to always record it into the history. I had a salon a couple of weeks back that their staff was putting formulas, notes, things like that under the customer's message. And I caution them. I say, when you get a chance, copy this message and put it into their history. And the reason for that is because if anything happens to shortcuts, hopefully nothing happens to the system, but if something happens, you get a virus attack, the hard drive crashes, you can't recover anything, our help desk can try to restore shortcuts, can try to restore your customers, your information, but the one thing that usually gets lost is anything under message. If we're able to do a restoration, the details under history are more than likely to be what's preserved. So always make sure you put your important information in history. The other important thing is the alert button. So if you have a customer and perhaps they're allergic to tea tree oil or they're allergic to latex and you just want your staff to be aware of any allergies, put an alert there. This alert will show up in the walk-in manager, it will show up in the appointment book, it will show up in the point of sale, and it will remind the staff, be careful with this customer, they have an allergy or something to be aware of. If you're a salon and you're dealing with little kids, and perhaps you have kids that have sensory issues, and the staff working with these kids has to give the kid extra time, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or even an hour to do a haircut, just because they get overwhelmed, then put an alert there. So this way the staff isn't surprised that they have a kid and they can't really sit in the chair for long periods of time. And that can go for anything. Anything that's important relative to the customer, just to give the heads up to your staff, put an alert there. So alerts and history, very important. All right, let's go back. And what is the barcode for? So let's go back. And we'll go back to the customer card. So if you have some sort of spa or some sort of salon and you actually print up client cards or membership cards, things like that, and you like to record the barcode for this particular customer, this is where shortcuts will allow you to save that information. So even at the point of sale, if one of your regular customers comes up, if you were to use your barcode scanner on their customer card, then at the point of sale, shortcuts will put that customer into the point of sale to say, oh, this client just showed up, they're really ready to buy something. So there's a few places in shortcuts where you can use barcodes. That's one of them. Of course, your inventory is the other. And even in your service menu, there is, when you're setting up services, the ability to assign a barcode for a service. Now, this is very rarely used, and I'll go into the details for one. But there is a barcode option here. So why would a service have a barcode? A few years back, I did a database for a nail salon, and this salon had almost 300 different service combinations. So rather than have a super long menu that the staff had to go through, they just keep a little folder in the front desk. So if the customer gets the mango, strawberry, gel, pedicure, then they can just flip to the pedicures and scan in that barcode. And then any other additional services, they would just scan those barcodes in instead of searching through an alphabetical list of every possible service they had. So it depends on your business. And I don't know any other salon or spa that I've worked with that has had that many services. All right, let's go back. Okay, are there any other questions regarding anything we've covered today? If you think of anything, or if you're watching this presentation later today and you think of anything, you can always reach out to us. So we are available. I am available. I'm at education@shortcuts.net, but you can also contact your customer support rep. You can reach out to us on Facebook or even on our YouTube page. We do check our messages and we will get back to you. So thank you all for attending. This has been the basics on the Shortcuts Walkin Manager. So I hope to see you again for our next classroom session. Have a great day, everybody.